Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning. It really depends when you're watching this flipped video. Today's flipped video will be the conclusion of chapter 3.3, and we're actually only going to be talking about one topic. That would be the pig war. And as my title says, it's a lesson in sharing and communication. Some background first about the pig war before we actually get into what it was, what caused it, and the ramifications of it. First off, in 1846, there was a treaty between England and the United States of America. And this treaty set the boundaries. We talked about this with the Treaty of Oregon, and the boundary was going to be the 49th parallel. Now, Britain did not want to lose Vancouver Island. And if you were to follow the 49th parallel, it goes right through Vancouver Island. Also, it's never a good idea to have one island shared between two countries, as we will see. So, the map makers and government officials out in the eastern part of Canada, or that part of Britain, and the United States of America decided that there would be an imaginary line going down the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Problem. They didn't realize that there was a group of islands that is right in the middle of the Strait of Juan de Fuca. So, America thought that the boundary should go this way, where this blue line shows, on Haro Strait. The British thought the boundary should go on Rosario Strait, meaning Britain would have all the islands. If it was Haro Strait, then the United States of America would have all the islands. So, Britain thinks these islands belong to them. So, some HBC agents, or Hudson Bay Company people, moved to the San Juan Island to set up a fish smoking place. 1853, some American squatters moved in, or actually it was before 1853, squatters moved in. Well, HBC, Hudson Bay Company, saw this. They wanted to have a more firm stake in the matter, so they started a sheep farm, and their sheep farm actually did really good. They started with a little over 1,000, and the following year they had about 4,000 sheep. So they both thought they had the island. HBC was there, a lot of sheep, and you have these American squatters, what the British called them, moving in on this land. Now, let's move on and talk about the shot heard round the sound. And in this, we'll discuss a pig's travels and a destroyed garden. And doesn't this just sound like the start of a really bad joke? So we have a gentleman here by the name of Lyman Cutler, an American, who thinks that San Juan belongs to the US of A. And he'd been living in the San Juan Island since April of 1859. Now, there was a particular pig which was owned by the Hudson Bay Company that kept getting into his garden and destroying it. His potatoes, actually. He was bothered and annoyed. Well, finally one day, the pig ate and destroyed his potato patch. I'd like to recreate what the conversation was like when Mr. Lyman Carter went to go talk with the Hudson Bay Company agent, Mr. Griffin. Mr. Griffin, I shot your pig. What? You shot my pig? Yeah, I shot your pig. It ate my taters. Well then you need to keep your taters out of my pig. Well, I shot it. I'm willing to pay for a new pig, or you can have 3 men come out and we can decide upon the worth of your pig. Nonsense. You owe me $100. $100 for a pig? A hog? That hog's like worth $10. We'll see about this. I'll be back. So, that's kind of the gist of what happened between those two men. Some of what I said is made up. Some of it is actually true. He was asking for $100 for the hog. And Lyman really thought it was only worth $10. Later that afternoon, Griffin came back with 3 more men, One of those men was actually a director of the Hudson's Bay Company, and that man actually really threatened Lyman, pretty much telling him that if you don't pay the $100 for our pig, we will come and take you to Victoria. Now, Lyman was like, sure, try to do it. The director pretty much then said that we have a bunch of men in a boat, and they will come and get you. So, obviously, Lyman never paid the $100. Long story short, he went and asked for help from a Mr. Pickett, who at that time had just landed on San Juan Island. And this was kind of the beginning of the Pig War. You had hurt feelings, and now you had honor. Because what happened was, the honor part is this. The Americans were on San Juan Island under Captain Pickett. And they kind of dug in, because here they thought they have a gentleman, an American citizen, is going to be arrested on what they thought was American soil. We'll have none of that. Well, Governor Douglas heard about, and this governor was the British governor on Vancouver Island. He heard about the Americans and how they had landed on Vancouver Island, and he was first surprised, and then he was mad. So he sent Captain Hornby with a 31-gun ship to to San Juan Island. Captain Pickett tried to visit Captain Hornby to get things figured out, so, there weren't any craziness going on. But Hornby, who at this point had been, not subjugated is the wrong word. Another gentleman who was a higher rank was now in charge, and this higher ranked gentleman would not talk to Pickett. So Pickett was really scared. So Pickett then talked to Brigadier General Harney, this gentleman right here, and asked him for help, because here he saw this huge ship. Well, Douglas and Harney ended up having some communications about what was going on, and it may have sounded something kind of like this. Well, sir, I want to tell you about why our guys are in San Juan Island. It's because you British are threatening to arrest one of my men over something on our island. Well, kind Americans, sir, I have not heard of such a thing. In fact, we British treat your Americans with the utmost respect, and no British men tried to arrest. In fact, we met a month ago together, and you never once said anything about this problem. I wish you would have then, because I could have told you us British treat Americans very nicely. Well, the reason I didn't say anything was because I only just found out. Please kindly send your guys away from our island. That's kind of what it was like. Governor Douglas was in contact with the British officials, and they pretty much told him that, why didn't you land British troops? You should have. Americans are dissing our honor and our queen, and that island belongs to us. So they went back and forth like this for quite a while, and what ended up happening is more and more troops were getting stationed on San Juan Island from both the American side and the British. Of course, the local side, was kind of fun to see these people on either ends of the island. Well, finally, both governments found out about what was really going on San Juan Islands, and they did not want a full-fledged war over a pig. Kind of silly. So they decided upon a joint occupation, where the British would be on one side, the Americans on the other, while they figured out who actually owned this island. And this lasted 12 years. Actually, that's 2, but 12 years. From 1860 to 1872. After that time, when, and let me get his title right, His Majesty William I, Emperor of Germany, King of Prussia, decided that the boundary line through the Strait of Haro would be the boundary between the two countries, meaning the San Juan Islands would belong to the United States of America, and all British citizens would have to leave the San Juan Islands, and the San Juan Island in particular. Now, Harney, the gentleman who had all of the American troops go to San Juan Island in the very first place, was reassigned. Thank you for watching the video. Sorry it's longer than I said it would be in class. but I know you really enjoy watching your teacher pretending to be multiple people. Questions are on a moto, guys.